a lot of people, their gut reaction, even to me, to seeing me having this conversation, would be to say, TK was a monster.
Right.
Why are you trying to humanize him? Why are you trying to show a portrayal of him when he allegedly, took people's lives and all this type of shit? Then you rewind the clock and you look at his mother and you realize the situation she was in. But then the stuff you said about her mother, you got to rewind it even more and say, look, this is a long, systematic series of events that are very unfortunate. And to just say, TK was a monster is a gross oversimplification of the situation, right?
And I have to deal with that sometimes. And the fact that is my nephew. We carry the same last name. I had to discontinue a lot of people that was like, your nephew's a murderer. You don't even know what happened in that situation. If you, first of all, if you had a child or someone you loved, you'll be cautious how you stepped on that situation. Third of all, you got to understand, we all human beings, right? We go through some things. If you take the shell off the covering, then you could point the finger at me, because what I did in Iraq and Afghanistan, I did the same thing, but he never did that. I really went to war and did that. This was a baby out there trying to figure out why his mama was away, dealing with situations, foster care, him and his sister, Kayla, shout out to Kayla, and my other nephew, Cameron, that's his brother that my sister left in Mississippi. So they don't know these stories of my sister kids. And once she had her kids, she dipped out because she didn't understand herself because of mental health. So that's why I had to go back and get my sister. She's been living with me now for almost 3 years. And I had to love her back to health, because God was like, JR, like, if you're going to continue this path and mentor kids and beat yourself up for not mentoring TK that's serving 55 years, you got to go get the beginning, which is my sister, and love her. And when it's time, then she can give that love back to her kids. It's not over.
Paint the picture for people who are listening to this of exactly how out of control Long Beach was at the time, because I feel like a lot of people might go there now. It's been gentrified. There's a lot of nice little shops and shit. There's nice areas like Signal Hill that people move to live nice, comfortable lives. But
see, I'm gonna say this.
I'm sure it wasn't always like that.
You can hear from the OG.
Let me say this. It's like this. See, me, there's always right and wrong in everything. Okay. Now, when you outside and you choose a rule that you don't know what it means. And so everybody makes a mistake, but the mistake gives us the courage to be a better person. So the depth of what you know and how you look at something, because when people get hurt, the person that did it is wrong and the person that got hurt was wrong. But there's always a space right here of reality like this. Myself to die and my survival. And if these environments produce that, I'm a product of my environment. I'm not defending my wrong. I'm defending my life. See what I'm saying? It's like, my opinion is any man or woman or child that has been hurt, if you have the courage to share that and teach somebody else that pain that you acquired, you're selfish.
In Long Beach, for me, man, like growing up, like it was a different element. Like, people judge Long Beach off what they see now, but it was a war zone, growing up, especially against each other. And then, like, people don't know, Long Beach, our biggest rival is the Mexicans, right? So growing up, walking to school as a 8, 9, 10-year-old, we shut our middle school down with a riot, Mexicans against blacks, and we shut our high school down 2 years in a row with a riot, 2 years in a row, and people stabbed, people hurt, people thrown over the science building, and these are gangs, right? So, and these are situations that we go to school and deal with, and have to be able to succumb that and understand and build hard skin, because either you get bagged on, or you bag on them back, or you get socked on, or you sock on them back. So what you gonna do? So where you gonna be from? And all my family was all from the east side of Long Beach. I'm the only one that stayed North Long Beach, and I rep that part really well, and because that's where I came from. But all my inspiration is from Long Beach, period. Like, we stick together, like our family, everything. Like, if we go to like Cal Rec, or if we go out to a park or somewhere, you see like P Nice. I know P Nice.
Shout out to P
You know,
Nice.
shout out to P Nice, shout out to Sabi. Like back in the day, I was Sabi bodyguard.
Really?
I was his body. Like I got footage. You know what I'm saying? Shout out to them, and they keeping the city lit. And when in Long Beach, we stay strong. And I got that concept from back in the day in the 80s. They used to call Long Beach Strong Beach. And why? Because we all programmed, we all ate good, we worked out, we were educated, and people don't understand a lot of the martial arts came from Long Beach. So that's why I study my martial arts, and that's why I do what I do. Because at the end of the day, Long Beach,
But
what they taught is warriors. You know,
You understand?
You got to be a warrior, and that's what the Army.
We don't have other gangs. It's 90% Crips, everybody else, and then the Hispanics. And the issue with the black and Hispanic thing is just because of the elements of life.
That's it.
But see, the thing about it, I know the platform, you understand? But what I'm saying is the issue of the way that we communicate as far as gang people, it has to come to a point to where we evolve to understand that we're hurting ourselves. And the results of this is the damage that we commit to. Even though you're defending yourself, because there is a right and wrong and there's a right and right. But nobody gets the picture of our society. It's like, yeah, I'm from 20s, 19th Street, feel me, West Coast. So what? But it's like, you know where you were born. But guess what? Where were you born? Like
New Hampshire.
Okay, listen. So if a from New Hampshire fly here right now and somebody kicking his ass just because he's from New Hampshire, isn't it your job?
No.
You get it now?
Different place.
Thank you. No, you hear what I'm saying?
It's not like Long Beach.
No. That's not what I'm saying. No, it is, but
it's got nothing to do with
you
me.
get what I mean? And we have to grow up. Now that,
Right.
what you just said,
It's foreign to you.
is my point. No, it's not.
Oh.
It's the exact thing I'm saying.
Okay.
Maturity.
You're like this. I am above that. But I was raised under this fatherless condition.
Right.
You understand what I mean? So a child only can blame the parenting. But the child will never take the blame because they had to allot the parenting. But us being human, feel me? And because we're not being mankind. We're not mankind. Because, okay, whatever happens, we're supposed to judge him. I got dirty hands, I'm supposed to judge you. But we're in too much in a depth of a way of judgment and characterizing things that situationally happen as a great event. But we can never change yesterday. We can only be the better us. I don't allot a room for the exposure to determine right and wrong. When you have a baby, there ain't no handbook. Nobody gave you a handbook on how you're gonna be your father. You don't even know yet. But what you're gonna do to maintain and do that and learn how to do it is whatever condition you're living. So the better man you are. But when you get an opportunity to be spoken to and speaking with, the opinion of comprehension should be portrayed first.
Right.
Not a portrayal of, this is my understanding, I believe right and wrong. Fuck that. I don't know what that person chose to be right and wrong. Somebody's dead. That's fucked up. But there's always a uniqueness, no matter what tragedy, to find courage to better something. Because you're going to be put in a situation where you have to defend it. He is. Everybody is. But everything and every individual don't have the audacity or courage lacking to be great at being a great person.
For sure. How well did you know TK's father?
I knew Kevin a lot.
He's from Long Beach?
Yeah, no, he's from Compton.
Compton, okay.
Yeah, so he was a Compton Crip.
Okay.
Yeah. So he was a Compton. He was from Compton, and I remember him and my sister going to the prom. I remember meeting him the day after. I think I guess they linked up and stuff like that. So he was active in the streets. Actually, his father, before the kids were born, was in a drive-by shooting, sitting in the car, and his best friend and him got shot in the car. His best friend died, and he got shot a bunch of times, riddled, and almost died. So
wow.
And that was in Compton, and that was in the 90s.
Okay.
I remember that.
And TK's mom, your sister, had how many kids before him?
Before Tay-K?
Yeah.
She had Kayla.
Okay,
Shout
just
out to
Kayla.
Yeah, Kayla. It's Kayla, Tay-K, and then Cameron.
Who has done interviews on like Say Cheese and
Yeah,
shit
I
like
saw
that.
that,
So
yeah.
her story is out there as well.
Yeah.
But so then, how long? At what point did they move? Or at what point did his dad get locked up? I guess because he did a long bid there, right?
Yeah, his dad and his mom was back and forth to jail since the early 2000s, back and forth.
And so he was in foster homes a bunch and stuff.
Yeah, so when my sister would go to jail, he'd go to foster care. When his daddy would be getting out, his daddy would get for him, go for the kids. But I remember vividly when I was stationed in Fort Bliss that I had an opportunity to get them as foster kids and bring them into my household. They came and checked out my house. They did all the paperwork. I was good. And then his dad was getting out of jail, so the dad took the kids. And I felt like that's where I hold myself to the fire, was I was because I would see my nephew and my niece when I got back from deployment. I would go pick them up. They was in Killeen, Texas, and I would go see them in different parts of Texas and bring them back to me and vacation with me for a couple of weeks or a month and get to know them and love them, because I was the one that brought them back from Mississippi to California as babies. People don't know that story. My sister got left for dead in the woods in Mississippi. It was a domestic violence charge that her father, that their dad did to my sister, and I never forgave him for that, and almost killed my sister and left her in Mississippi. So I had to take the babies and bring them back to California.
Wow.
Yeah, and I was only 17 or 18.
Holy shit.
Yeah, so people don't see that story too. So Kayla was 4, he was 2, so he was a baby.
Okay. And so he spent a lot of time in California as a young kid, or did he spend most of his childhood in Texas?
No, so California and Mississippi as a like 2 to like 6, and then from like 7 to like the rest of the time they with my sister in Vegas, and then to Texas. So they got took in Vegas from foster care. My sister went to jail, and then they got put in the system, and that's how they ended up in Texas.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so, do you remember having any conversations with TK about the gang thing? Because he had a lot of Crip-related lyrics.
Yeah.
Like, even at a certain point, him doing all the crazy stacked gang signs together became like kind of like this iconic image of him. For a lot of people, they just couldn't believe they were looking at a kid this young who knew, 15 different gang signs that he was putting all together and shit like that. Like, what was his early education into all that?
Well, he was a product of his environment. He saw his dad. His dad was a Crip. His mama was still banging, so that's a Crip family. So he saw that, and then who my sister had him around early in his baby years and early in his one digits, from like probably 1 to about 9, probably more than that. He I don't know if you guys know the legendary rapper that come out of Long Beach, Trade E. So my sister,
Trade E on here before,
yeah, a shout out to Trade E. My sister was best friends with his wife, so TK was raised around
his current wife too, right?
No, the wife before that, I think.
Oh, okay. Because I remember he had a woman with him when he came to do the interview a few years back. Yeah.
I don't want to cross him. I don't know which one it is, but I know my sister was best friends with his wife before. So TK and Kayla was always around all the Insanes, all the babies. So Tamar started claiming babies because a lot of my uncles and a lot of my cousins are from babies and Insane. So that's two different. Insane is the umbrella, and underneath is babies and all the other stuff that goes on with that part of Long Beach. So he started to develop that way. So when I would get him and see him, I would try to teach him more tactical stuff. I was in the military, so hey, this is what you do, because he was always infatuated with martial arts and shooting. So I would go out there and do certain things with water guns and BB just to show him and do some things with him, and that's what he wanted to do. So I was like, okay, he might be a cop, he want to be military, but what I'm saying, in his mind it was still fresh. But he always been smart at music though. I remember him making music in the closet in Texas and buying him some keyboards and doing certain things. He's always been lyrical, always rapped all the 50 Cent lyrics. Shout out to 50 Cent. Always rapped all the East Sider lyrics, always rapped all the Dog Pound lyrics. Like he knew them, like it was that little kid you put in the back of the car and you put on the song, and he rapped everything. So,
definitely. And so how much time did you end up spending in Texas while he was out there. And was he just out there with the foster home shit, or
No,
his mom ended up meeting him out there at some point?
His mom, his dad, and his grandfather lives out there.
Okay.
So he bounced around them situations. So I would see him like probably every spring break, summertime. Him and I got some pictures that I could dump to you guys. It's in that at his earlier years before he was anything. So he was there with my kids hanging out. I was still active in the Army. I didn't retire till 2016. So.
Right, which is like immediately before he ended up catching his charge and everything, right?
Exactly, yeah. So I remember that day vividly, his video going viral, and people was playing it, and it was like, his last name is McIntyre, and I'm like, oh, I ain't tripping. I'm all over the world. Like, this can't be nobody I'm talking about.
Right.
And when they showed me, it was my nephew. And I was like, that's my nephew. And people didn't believe it. Like, no, you saying it so candidly. I'm like, that's my sister's son.
Right.
So, and it was crazy because I don't know if you saw my conversation I had with my sister on my platform. She was telling me, I said, how did you find out about this type of song? And she said she was walking up Compton Boulevard and the beauty supply store was playing the music, and she heard it. She was like, that's my son. He played that for me before. Who got that song? And it was on the radio circulating, and she went in there dancing and doing her thing, and they was like, get out of our store. Like, and she was like, no, that's my son. Look at our picture. So yeah. So
okay, but before we get to the race and everything, were you aware of his dad abusing him? Because that's something that's been kind of reported in a bunch of the documentaries and stuff, is that his dad, when he got out of prison, that began like a different type of life for him where he was getting beat up and shit.
Right, Kayla, I heard her talk about it vividly, and I heard him talk about it on platforms. It didn't get told to me, but I mean, I just told you already what happened to my sister in Mississippi. So you put two and two together, just like, again, it ain't no shout to him or try to damage his character, but all I know about is what happened with my sister. And I heard the abuse with the kids. So.
Right. And then, okay, there was another situation that I believe would have happened while you were still overseas, where basically they're coming home from a party and TK's in the car with his friends, and they get into an argument with another car, and I don't believe people really know like what the argument was about or anything, but one of the guys with TK ends up pulling out a gun, shooting at the car, and killing like a young white girl, like a teenage girl.
Yeah.
And I saw like the news report of her parents talking about it and everything like that. But apparently TK was so young that his name didn't even make it into the police report, and he was basically like didn't have to deal with any consequences from this or whatever. But you could imagine that was probably a pretty traumatic event and something that would have probably like really normalized murder in his mind, to have been so close to a situation like this and then not have to really deal with any repercussions.
Right. I heard about that. And like I said, it was trickulating through the news to my family in situations like that, but we didn't know who was involved and how he was involved and how much or how deep. So when you start reading the tabloids and, that is your nephew, but we are so far in a situation where, he's with his dad now, but he was in a foster care. But hey, I thought you guys were, looking after him. What's going on? So, and then on the search to try to find my sister, like, hey, are you okay? What's going on? How's your mental? You hear this? What's going on? So it was a lot going on around that situation. So, but you hear the stories, you hear the ugliness, and it's sad that people don't take time to open up that package and see like really things that you hear, and then you DM the kid's mom like she didn't have anything to do with that. But you can feel how painful it could be to open up something that, like, we're not expecting everybody to be nice, but damn, like, be respectful, right? And understand the story.
It's crazy how much I expect that at this point, that like, I didn't even need you to tell me that people were harassing his mom. I just assumed, because people do things that are 1% as extreme as what happened with TK, and the family gets harassed, the mom gets harassed. It's just like such a consistent thing online these days, which I really wish was not the case, because almost always the people getting harassed are basically innocent, I would think.
Right, definitely, yeah. And, it's sad because I have to pick up the pieces and deal with that, because my main thing was making sure I usher her back to health, right? her mental health was damaged before these kids got here. Now that the kids are here and she's having to go through this, it's been a tragic 7 to 8 years from the moment they picked him up to till now. She didn't want to do anything because it's like y'all blaming her for something that you think that we had control over, but we were a product of our environment. But we're not looking to say poor me, but at least understand, like, right? Like, you know what I'm saying? Our mother left us. You think she know how to raise kids? She loved them to death, but you think but nobody gave us instructions on how, but you think that she knew how, and after everything she was dealing with and going with, who knows what she been through out there. My sister living under bridges, in boxes. My mama lived on Skid Row. So it's a heavy cycle of what we saw. So that's what I saw. I saw my mama on Skid Row. I saw my mama selling drugs. I saw my mama at late night parties. She, you know what I'm saying, back in the day, she had me dressed up like I was Eazy-E. So that's what she was raising that too. And if my father didn't step in, then I would have probably been the first take care, right? Because that's what I saw.